Web Marketing That Works, episode number 43.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Welcome to Web Marketing That Works podcast. This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. You'll be taken behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments. We'll be looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll confess what's failed and reveal the truth about what really works. This show is brought to you by our new book, Web Marketing That Works, and specifically the bonus templates that go with it. So if you're keen to download those, then jump on over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book, and you'll see we have 33 free marketing templates over there. That URL again, bluewiremedia.com.au/book. Now, the guest for today's show is a mate of mine, Sam McIntosh, who is the owner and publisher of Stab Surfing magazine. And I'm really excited to hear what Sam has to say because he's built this magazine up from scratch. He's transitioned it from being a print magazine to really focused almost exclusively on digital, or that's certainly the key of it for him. And he shares some really exciting insights into the world of publishing and how he goes about creating amazing content that drives huge numbers for his website. So, no further ado, let's get started. Okay, so it's my great pleasure today to introduce Sam McIntosh, the owner of Stab magazine and an awesome surfer in his own right, which I just found out about really on Sunday, Sam. That was pretty impressive. The hours break, mate, in that Red Bull comp. That was awesome to watch. Well done.
Yep, last place in last heat of the day. Thank you.
Oh, mate, appreciate you joining me anyway on the show, Sam. So thanks very much, mate.
Yeah, this is exciting. I'm excited about your hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, well, mate, I'm really looking forward to our chat for today for a heap of reasons, really. But particularly some of the ideas that we were talking about on the rooftop, actually, around what you're doing online and how your website and your magazine work together as well. And to give everyone a bit of context, let's start off with you and Stab. So what's a day in the life of Sam McIntosh look like at the moment?
Oh, I guess if you want to chart Stab's history, we started as a print magazine.
Yep.
And then I guess 3 or 4 years ago, we invested pretty heavily in the digital space, and that's where we've had the most of our growth. And a part of our big success has been a pretty decent social strategy. And so every day on Stab, what a day would look like would be, we're just trying to work out, I guess, what is newsworthy. News kind of lights up traffic more than pretty much anything you do. You get the right news, you get the right traffic. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's just something we've learned recently.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, we might come back to that point, mate, because I think that will be really interesting. But to go a little bit earlier than that even, so why did you start Stab?
I actually worked for another publisher, and we were doing really well, and I was just on editors don't usually earn very much money. And I think I was getting paid $28,000 a year, and I had record magazine sales, record advertising, and I just was sort of banging my head against the wall a little bit. So I left and started my own thing. I actually I wrote a how to surf book with a guy called Taj Burrow, and that was turned out to be a bestseller. And then we used that cash to bankroll Stab.
Oh, mate, that's really cool. I hadn't realised that. So
Yeah.
when did you write How to Surf?
We started that in about 2003, I think. 2004, yeah.
Yep. And so aside from the fact that you could see someone else doing well and you wanted to start your own gig, was there did you feel as though there was an opportunity to differentiate, your Stab mag versus others?
Yeah, absolutely. We're dealing with we're in a really traditional kind of old school space in terms of the media we're creating, and our ideas weren't really let fly too much. And so I just kind of wanted to see those expand without having those roadblocks everywhere we go. I had a gut feeling of what we're trying to do would work.
Yep.
And I wasn't it wasn't given the room to breathe where I was. So that's why we went and decided to do it on our own.
Okay, and so you bankrolled it with the money from How to Surf, and I mean, how do you actually set up a magazine?
Yeah, it's interesting. You just go meet a printer, you go meet a distributor, and you go and create it. You don't. There's no sort of barriers to entry. You can put out something with typographic errors. You can put anything at all, and it will still make it onto the newsstand, which is interesting. The only thing that'll stop you is if you decide to send 20 magazines to a newsagent, and you can kind of do the allocation you like. They're the only ones who'll stop you from putting it out. They might go, no, we don't want 20, we want 4, or we don't want any. But other than that, it's really strange. If you find a distributor, you're on.
Right, cool.
Yeah.
And did the magazine, I guess compared to when you started it, how's it sort of evolved and changed up to now then?
I guess back in the day when we started, that was 10 years ago now, it was more time sensitive. That would sort of report news, and that would be like how most people got information. But now it's less time sensitive. The stories are more vital. I guess they've got a longer tail, you could say. You can kind of see those ones there. They kind of stand the test of time more so, and the news happens on the site day to day.
Right. So your magazine sort of becomes like the almost evergreen stories that are going to be of interest, people to collect the mag. And do those stories also make it from the mag onto the website? Is there duplication of content?
There is, yeah. Everything we do as well, we don't do anything that just lives in print. We'll always do a digital version of it. And I guess the magazine is a little bit more coffee table book, so something it's less disposable.
Yeah. And just to dig a bit deep on that sort of distinction of content between digital and print, I mean, do you present the same content in a different format online, like, video and photos and that sort of thing, or more an extended photo, say shoot? Or is it literally you take the story and put it online? How do you sort of distinguish between the two?
Sometimes we release the film that sort of pushes the words and photos now on sale in the print edition. Sometimes you just lift every word and every photo identically. I guess it's case by case, but we don't want to sort of give up what the print edition is and just put it all online, because I guess it loses its special nature to those people who invested in it.
Yeah. And so for you then, what was the sort of trigger for you in terms of switching from, offline to really investing online? What made you make that decision?
This is a funny question, because my business partner at the time, he could sort of see the transition, and obviously there was no money coming in digitally. There was no value in a digital spend for most brands. And he sort of said to me, he goes, hey, if you don't go and build me a website, I'm out, I'm gone. And we invested pretty heavily. Yeah, we invested pretty heavily in it. He said, I'll get the money back in 3 months. It costs to build it, but get me something I can sell. And
wow,
I didn't want to do it. I didn't want a really good end-to-end website for what a brand like ours needs is expensive. It's 80 to 100 grand, and I didn't want to know about it. But I guess in hindsight, it was the best money we ever invested.
Yeah, so cool. So take us through like some of the process. If he said, get me a website I can sell, what are you actually selling on the website? And what was the process in terms of sort of taking it from planning and ideas and actually rolling it out?
Everything we do kind of starts with a reader. In our space, the way to get a daily reader is to have surf forecasting. So if you have a camera at a beach, it'll tell you what the surf's going to be like that day. That's the easiest way to get traffic. And we're not experts in that. We don't sort of claim to be. So we were trying to do whatever we could to be a daily destination for a surfer. So when they do their around the grounds of their sites of a morning, we're in that places they visit. Because we thought once you get a reader and once you keep delivering them and then you're reliable, then you should never lose them. So that's our sort of ethos. And so, yeah, that's what we wanted to do. We sort of thought, what do we want to read? What do we want to see? What is important? And then I guess we created our little rules around it, and then we just live and breathe by those now.
Yeah, awesome. And that was an ethos that translated from your offline onto the digital stuff as well?
Yeah, I guess one of our rules was we should always have a tone. And so we took our tone from the print to digital. We always have a point of view, because at a point when news breaks, news is news and will end up everywhere. But for us, if we have a tone and an opinion and people kind of know our tone and they expect that, then that's, I guess, a way to build a really loyal readership, because they're coming to say how we report on events. And I know we're not the Washington Post or anything, but there's still, even in a surf world, there's still lots of things that happen and lots of good things to report on. And I guess that's why little niche brands do so well, because in every little niche there's a lot that is important in people's worlds. From the outside looking in, it's not that important, but once you're in and you're immersed in that world, it's a pretty big deal, I think.
Yeah, and so what would you say your tone is?
We're a little less obvious. We're a little bit how do you say this? I think we're a little bit critical, but also a little bit optimistic. So we kind of try to read through a press release and try to find out the inside track and the real story.
Yep.
And then, I guess that's what our tone is. And we just try to not take it too seriously.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And so let's dive into this concept of being a place for news then, that you say sort of, news drives traffic. How do you sort of structure that approach, I guess? How does that sort of work? What are the mechanics behind that for you guys?
Okay, I don't want to give up too many secrets, but I guess...
Sure.
So Andy Irons, the famous 3-time world champion surfer, died of a drug overdose.
Yep.
We were very connected, so we reported that first. We got the toxicology report. We kind of got the inside tracking that other people didn't get, and we reported on that. And then we were linked to by the Sydney Morning Herald, LA Times. Just we're linked all around the world, and so then you just have this incredible burst of traffic.
Yeah.
So quite often, surf news will become, I guess, mainstream news. So that always helps. What we also try to do is when this is a lot smaller scale, but a surf event is on and the surf event is over and somebody wins, we'll be the first to report it, and then we will hold the conversation around it. So a contest victory happened in Tahiti the other day. A Brazilian kid named Gabriel Medina won, and I think there's around 700 comments on our site around that particular win. And so we really try to engage our reader and kind of, I guess, create two-way conversation where we can.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of the things we do. But I think I might have got a little bit off track there to your question.
No, that's fair because, like speed to, to your readers, I guess, or speed to market is really important for you guys then in terms of breaking the news first.
Absolutely, because I think as we move in the future digitally, we all hear that news breaks, right? Like we all know something goes wrong, whether a plane shot out of the sky. I don't think when we go to find out about that, we're not going to go to the front page of we might not go to the front page of the website we might want to go to. We might not go to the Sydney Morning Herald for the story. We're just going to Google it, and we're going to find whatever the highest Google search is, and we're going to just enter that site through the side door. You're not going to even go through their homepage.
Yeah.
And so you need to be first and then climb those Google rankings, and then I guess you're the spot, and then you become that reliable voice. People might go to you through the front door, but I think it's more going to be through the side door.
Yeah, on a sort of issue-by-issue basis almost.
Yeah, because if something happens, you're probably no more loyal to go to whatever news site. You just want to get the one that's got the best story up or the one that is at the top of the rankings.
Yep.
So that's how we kind of feel it'll happen.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense to me. And it's really interesting. I think we're all about trying to learn how, news particularly and how you generate news has been a real topic through a number of our podcasts that we've done. And maybe this is trade secrets, but how do you get to be the number one news article without being, does it mean you have to be first? Or does it mean that you're the one to write the piece and get it to SMH, say, and submit that as a story? Do you proactively do that, or is that something the SMH might pick up for you guys, or how does that sort of relationship work?
We just hope it happens organically. You have the right quotes from the right people, they'll sort of find it.
Yep.
We never chase those down. We just figure if we get that story, then it gets out there. The same way as we did that, we orchestrated that shoot in Western Australia a couple of weeks ago with Mark Matthews and Taj Burrow.
Yeah, walk through that, can you? Because that's an awesome example of sort of creating content, I guess, and then almost making your own news.
Yeah, so that's what we try to do. We just try to do these big shoots 3 or 4 times a year, like a kind of a stab concept shoot.
Yep.
And in doing so, the spikes in traffic are pretty significant. The particular clip we're talking about had a couple million views. It was on ABC Nightline out in New York. Was a really widespread where that landed. Yeah. So the more projects you do like that, the more your brand gets out there, which is, I guess, the ultimate goal, really.
Yeah. Just for the sake of the audience, can you walk us through what the actual story was and what the shoot was? Because it was pretty awesome. I'll also make sure that I link to it in the show notes for this as well.
Oh, no worries. It was what it was 2 surfers taking off in a really big wave, one riding behind one surfer in a really big tube, but rather than just riding behind him and both trying to make the wave, one of them was holding a pretty serious camera body, like a water housing, and they're trying to get the greatest surf photo ever taken. And so they both got into this wave drive by sort of via jet ski and a rope, and I was driving the jet ski, and we did it at a place called the Right in the bottom of Western Australia for a really big swell, and it's a wave notorious for the longest hold downs in the world in terms of surfing. Guys have been held down for 2-3 waves, and been held down for a minute and stuff like that. So it was a dangerous wave to try it on, and yeah, neither of the guys we did it with made the wave, so they both had long hold downs. The guy who actually tried to take the photo, Mark Matthews, he had the camera strapped to him with like a little leash, and so it was like this wrecking ball that just kept smacking him underwater.
Brutal.
Yeah. So he got pushed 60 feet deep. He burst his eardrums, again, blood coming out of his ears, and it was pretty nasty. They were both okay, but it was scary when they both came to the surface. I was the first one there, and they came up and they were kind of white, but also they had the adrenaline pumping. They were pretty excited to both survive as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. So in that sort of circuit, I mean, were you the only one on a jet ski? Were there others around?
There are others around, but they mostly had cameramen on there.
Yep.
And yeah, so I was the only one who was just there that could have just, my main role was to try to get them out of there.
Yeah.
And, the footage was spectacular. I think the photo and the wave was reposted as we actually partnered with Red Bull on it, but it had a stupid amount. I don't actually know the final figures, but it went so viral in those following days. So any news like that goes viral is, I guess, it's hard to measure its success, but it's really good to get your brand out there.
Yeah, and so in terms of, say, partnering with Red Bull, did you take the concept to them and they said, yep, yeah, we're in, or is that just a partnership that you've got going?
We've worked with them before. We did another viral shoot a few years ago where we put a flare on a guy's surfboard and he surfed through a tube at night. It's only lit up by like a marine grade flare.
Yeah, right.
But this was just a case-by-case example. We work with them a lot, but this was just an idea. And so I guess working with someone like Red Bull is good because they've got a network that is a lot larger than Stabs to get that content out there. So it's mutually beneficial.
Yeah, it's a really interesting idea in sort of picking the right partner for a piece of content. And I mean, at what stage do you take the idea to them and then they say, yeah, that sounds great, we'll partner with you? Or is it like you've got it all locked in and then you sign them up at the last minute? How does that work?
No, they were across it from the start.
Right.
So we were just always going to use, because Mark, who held the camera, he's a Red Bull athlete. Taj isn't. But yeah, we had a few different guys who we could have brought in for it because just from people's different schedules. But the Taj Mark combination worked really well for us. Just Taj wasn't away on a world tour event and the swell arrived, because surfing's tough. You can't just go and book in like a football field or a racetrack. You're so dependent on the ocean and weather. And so even the best laid plans they fall over a lot. So yeah, it's there's a lot of variables.
Nice to get it done then, hey? Was it in the pipeline for a while before, the sort of variables all happened together?
Yeah, it was. Maybe like 3 or 4 months, and it's really hard to try to get people's, I guess, schedules lined up, and then a lot of times you show up at a break and it's meant to be 20 feet and it won't be breaking. So just even they can have these really good forecasts for the ocean and what it's going to do, until you're there on the day, it's never how it reads. You
sort of have these great concept ideas, I guess, and then you go looking for the partner. Like, what's your process in terms of coming up with the ideas?
They're varying. We kind of draw inspiration from a lot of places just well beyond the surf world. We did one recently in Western Australia with the surfer called John Florence, who's sort of a young Hawaiian who's pretty much the hottest thing in surfing right now. And what we wanted to do is create a Saint-Tropez beach scene. So, just the way in the Mediterranean it is, you've just got the umbrellas and the day beds. We wanted to create that in Western Australia and shoot it from a helicopter. And so have him on a deserted beach and make it look like Monaco. That was just one of our guys out of the office. That was Elliot's idea. And, we just kind of, I don't know. I don't know how they come about, but they just kind of, someone gets an idea and we work out what client it could work for, and then we go to them with it. And then, it's pretty simple. Yeah, cool.
In that instance, you're sort of looking for a partner or someone who might actually, pay for the right to sort of have their name all over that. Is that sort of how you monetize that content then?
Yeah, and then we monetize that content, and then rather than just be a creative agency comes up with that, then we've got the numbers to put through us pushing it. So it all comes through Stab, and we push it heavily socially. So you've already got those runs on the board as opposed to someone who just said, I've got an idea for you guys to do this.
Yep. Cool. Well, I mean, if we could, we might jump into how you sort of built that audience, Sam, in terms of your social media following and some of that stuff. Because, I mean, I had a look this morning and stats are up at like 227,000 Instagram followers or something like that. So you're obviously braining it on Instagram, and your Facebook numbers are really high too. Yeah, can you sort of talk us through some of your social media strategy and how that's sort of, I guess, unfolded? Because there's so many new platforms popping up. There's new techniques all the time. The social media platforms themselves actually change the rules. It's an evolving beast. So I'm just sort of interested in your thoughts as to how your strategy started out and then how it's developed over time.
Okay. I was actually quite a lot anti-social media. If you look at our Twitter follow, I think we're only about 20K on that. I never really believed in Twitter that much.
Right.
And I know these have these big followings, and that wasn't one that we really identified with. I guess we get out what we put in, and that's not a huge support network we've got there. But when Instagram came along, that was something we thought really connected with what we do, because we're just so visual. We buy a lot of photos, and I guess it's a big part of our medium. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, if we put our stuff on Instagram, then people won't read our magazine. We were very different to that. We wanted to embrace it. I guess adopt a more longer-term approach of, this is people getting your content for free on Instagram, but it's still engaging an audience, and I think that's more important, to have a larger engaged audience than a smaller one that you can monetize.
Yep.
So we just developed a strategy early. I know our page looks like some cute girls and some cool surf photos and a bit of other stuff, but it's pretty tight on what we put in there. It's not just sort of throw whatever on the wall and see what sticks. We try to be quite reliable, and we also take the gift of someone allowing us to enter their life in around their friends and what makes them happy. We take it we don't take it as a gift. We sort of really appreciate that they've accepted us. I guess we never take it for granted. So we always work really hard, and we try to really be careful on how good our quality is that we run through that page.
Yeah, that really ties back to your sort of reader first ethos by the sounds of things.
Yeah, I know people used to always be like, like brands would say, can you just dump this on your Facebook? And we're just like, no. It's it's a place where we want to sort of maintain quality, so we try really hard to do that. Just recently, I think we grow about 1,000 a day on Instagram, which is just another K, which has been really good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And have you found, I mean, obviously the core of what you're doing is the catch cry of Stab is we like to surf. Have you found that you've sort of broadened your content? You say, some cute girls and great surfing pics and stuff, but have you sort of experimented at all with going into other, other sports, like related sports? Some people often sort of relate skateboarding with surfing and that kind of thing, or snowboarding, or, winter sports at all, or have you just really stuck to your guns around, there's sort of that fashion component to Stab as well? So I'm just sort of interested how you mix that up.
Okay, so the reason we've got this, I guess the surf, you see the fashion part as well, is because I guess a surf lifestyle kind of brand. All these companies that put the surf industry, they all made all their cash by creating surfwear. So what we're trying to do is just give them a vehicle to showcase what they're doing and to show our readers what the best sort of stuff available is out there. In terms of snowboarding and skateboarding, we really don't want to be all things to all people. So we're not avid skaters or snowboarders, and we just don't want to look like we're trying to cash in, so we don't go near it really. We just stick to what we know, which is surfing. And so, that's why we never really falter, I guess, go too far out of those lines. We're really pop culture influenced, but we don't go too far near those other sports.
Yeah, I think to me the web caters really well for, the really deep niche businesses. So that to me sounds like a really smart play, is going deep and, super high quality on the surfing niche and I guess the pop lifestyle stuff as well. But that's really cool to hear.
There's little things that pop up, and there's opportunities, like even in our world where brands are trying to cash in on a new little, whether it might be MMA fighting or whatever something new is, but we always try to look a bit longer term. And if it doesn't feel real or feel like us, then we just don't go near it.
Yeah. So that's a gut feeling sort of decision by you guys or an editorial team, or?
Yeah, as an editorial team, we've got our guys who are our editors and stuff like that. I'm just the publisher, so I kind of sit above it, but we kind of know, we really have a clear, I guess, roadmap of where we want to be and who we are. So it's not that hard to keep sort of referring back to it. Yeah,
cool. Oh, that's awesome. So if we've got just another couple more questions, Sam, if you've got time, is that okay?
Yeah, no worries.
So how do you go about, I'm sort of interested in your team because, again, finding content, creating content, break down the teams and that kind of thing is a really important piece of the puzzle, I think, in terms of web marketing. And doing that well is something that you guys have obviously done really well. So how do you guys go about sourcing your content as the first question?
So how we source the content that we run with, so what we go and create?
Yeah, well, I guess there's sort of that creation component as well as, do you accept stories from other people? Is all of your content created by you guys?
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, no. We there's lots of guys out in the world who shoot surfing and shoot surf videos and surf photos, and there's lots of good surf writers. What we try to do is pick the ones identify with our brand. We just kind of connect with them and we go back and forth and work out what the stories are, when they're going to drop, when they're going to have the best connection, and go that way. So if there's a big swell somewhere, and say there's a swell in Tahiti today, we'll have guys on the ground there who will shoot it today, and then it'll be live tonight with the stories behind the photos.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's how you make sure you're on top of the news cycle as well, is it?
Yeah, and if you don't surf, it's really weird. You're like, how is that news? How is a group of guys in Tahiti getting really good waves news? Like, how does that connect? But then you think, if you put that on a website and you're a surfer, you got these guys in really blue water, it's warm, they're out there getting the waves of their lives, and we're sitting at a desk at work or we're sitting at school, and we're sharing that. And that's, if you're a surfer, that's news. That's what you want to know.
Yeah.
And if you talk to someone who's, if they don't surf, then it's like, how is that news?
Yeah. But again, back to the reader, hey?
Yeah, it's always the reader. So you get him loyal, who's back every day. Like our biggest reader group visits, do you know how you go through your analytics in Google? Our biggest reader group comes to Stab over 200 times a month.
Wow.
So that's the most you can actually see in the analytics. So 200 plus times a month, which is phenomenal.
What percentage is that of your traffic?
It's like 60% of our traffic. We have this incredibly loyal reader.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You're definitely ticking some boxes then, and, matching up that expectation with your rhythm as well as the content, obviously.
Yeah, and if we don't cover something, though, then these guys are furious. Or if we miss something or we're late, then we're going to know about it. So, yeah, it's a newborn baby.
Two-edged sword. Do readers ever sort of contribute stuff, non-professionals ever contribute anything? Or do you engage them in any particular ways?
We did a competition quite a few years ago called Little Weeds, and it was trying to fast-forward careers in 5 different, genres. So we're trying to find an unknown surfer, an unknown model, an unknown writer, an unknown photographer, an unknown videographer. And so we had this competition where we had these high-profile mentors, and these guys challenged against each other for over 3 heats, all digitally. And then we flew 20 finalists to the Gold Coast, and they battled against each other. So that we had Taj Burrow surfing, we had a guy called Kai Neville, the filmmaker, kind of guiding these guys.
Yeah, right.
And at the end, the writer, he edited an issue of Stab. The surfer was featured on the cover of Stab. The model was featured in a modelling shoot and got a modelling contract. The photographer shot the cover of Stab, and then the film kid, he made a Stab film. It's a huge undertaking. It was like a ridiculous success, but that's the largest scale thing we've done on it for sure. Flying 20 kids somewhere and then looking after them for 3 days, it's like the Australian Idol. It was pretty wild.
Oh, mate, that would have been quite a sight to see, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was cool.
Cool, mate. Well, what do you see as then sort of next for you guys?
I just think staying niche is a big part of what we do. I want to grow our readership out. There's only so many surfers in Australia, so I just want to build our international readership, which is, we've got quite a lot out of the US, but we want to sort of build some other regions. our Stab brand is not, we're not parochial. We're not, I guess we're truly international. We don't care whether someone's from down the road at Bondi or they're from San Clemente or they're from Brazil. We try to sit above that and just the best is the best regardless of where they're from. So our brand works, I guess, on the internet for that way because that's always been our ethos.
I mean, that's the beauty of the internet is that you can go, you've got access to the entirety of the surfing market and not just a geographically confined, which I guess, do you print your magazine overseas as well, or?
We print in Singapore and then ship it here, ship it to the US, yeah.
Gotcha.
We don't go beyond Australia, New Zealand and the US.
Would you intend to, or would you just keep it all online?
I think it makes sense to put it just digitally so much easier.
Yep.
It's quite a cumbersome way to reach people, magazines, especially internationally, because they're so expensive to print.
Yep. Yeah, cool. Oh, mate, thanks so much. And I guess one final question is just, who do you learn from, Sam? Like, who do you keep tabs on, either in person, books, blogs, presentation, just more generally, online, offline? Who would you say are the people that you keep tabs on?
I've got quite a few people I sort of plug into, like who I'm close with on, I guess, on a physical level, like that I meet up with who are friends.
Yep.
But I guess in the digital space, I really love Seth Godin.
Yeah, nice.
I think he's phenomenal. His daily email just inspires me so much. Yeah. And if you got any leads of people you can turn me on to, I'd love to get them.
Yeah, mate, there's probably a handful of others. Yeah, I mean, Seth Godin is definitely one of our... Actually, he's coming to Sydney next week or next month or so anyway, if you're around.
Is he?
Yeah, so I'll try to flick you across, see if there's any tickets left on that.
That'd be amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, the other people that we have watched really closely are guys like David Mim and Scott, the New Rules of Marketing and PR. Don't know if you've seen any of his work. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a ton of people, really. Tim Ferriss is another one who is a really big blogger in the States who has done brilliantly in terms of figuring out all sorts of varied content, but really kept to his own style as well. Chris Brogan. Anyway, there's probably numbers. But yeah, it's cool to hear that you're into Seth because he's certainly a master of it all, isn't he?
Oh, I just love how, because it's quite easy to get lost in the jargon and the talk and just everything's sort of unabridged and it just goes on for days and days. But the way he talks about things and refers to things, he does it so succinctly and does it in 100 words. I think that's so clever because we can all get lost in words and go on for days. To share that every day really, I don't know, it's just so punchy and powerful.
A mark of someone knowing something really well, I think, is their ability to make it simple.
Yeah, agreed.
Not that everything can be simple, but yeah, he's definitely a master. Oh, that's really cool. Mate, so final thing is how can people sort of connect with you, with Stab? What's the best way to sort of follow your journey and learn from what you're up to?
We just follow, I guess you see what we do on stabmag.com. My big publishing company is called Rolling Youth. So it's rollingyouth.com. We do a few other projects we work with. We've got another site, Life Without Andy. We've got a few more things on the boil. So yeah, if you go through any of those, you can contact me. That's pretty simple.
Yeah, cool.
Otherwise, I don't do any personal social media or anything, no. I'm just all strictly the biz.
Good man. Keep a low profile. Well, mate, thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciate it, mate. It's been awesome to talk to you and really interesting to hear your journey and what you've been up to with it all. So that's great. Thank you.
Unreal, Tabs. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Soon. Bye.
So thank you so much again for joining us for today's Web Marketing That Works podcast. It was great to have Sam on the show, and thanks so much to him for his insights there. As always, again, we are trying to deliver actionable advice, and so please, we welcome your comments and questions if you have any. We'd love to answer them on the next show if we can. And also, the show is brought to you as well by the 33 free web marketing templates. So please jump over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book to get your hands on those templates and you can download them. So thanks again for joining us and look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much.